Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at a new project, which is a currency converter application. So in this project, we're going to be using concepts we've learned in the Learn Python playlist and also concepts we've learned from previous projects in this playlist. So we're going to create a new file. We're going to call it currency.py. And from the previous project, we've looked at requests or the requests library. So we're going to be using that library in this application as well. For those of you who haven't seen that video, to install the requests library, you have to go to your terminal and type in pip3 install followed by requests. This is for Mac users, and for Windows users, you type in pip install followed by requests. And once the install completes, you might need to restart your editor, but after that it should work. So we're going to start by importing requests. So what is our plan here? We need to take three inputs from the user. That is going to be the source currency or the currency they're converting from, and we need to take in the destination currency or the currency they want to convert to, and finally we're going to take in an amount. So those are the three inputs we need from the user. So these are basic, so let's first write those out. So the first thing we're going to take is the source currency. So we're going to call it from currency, and we're going to set it equal to input, and we're going to ask the user to enter the source currency. Here we need to remember an important fact that we looked at in the Learn Python playlist. So in the from currency and the to currency, it doesn't matter, but when we come to the amount, there is something that we need to do to the input. To give you a hint, it has something to do with casting. So we'll get to it when we get there. So the next input we want to take from the user is going to be the to currency, or to what currency they want to convert to. So this is going to also be an input, and we're going to prompt the user to enter the destination currency. And finally, we need to take the amount of money that they want to convert from the user. So we're going to say amount equals to input, and we're going to prompt the user to enter the amount. So as I said before, we need to do something here. That is because the input function by default returns a string. So we need to convert it to the proper data type, which is going to be float in this case. We won't make it an integer because the amount could be a decimal number. So we're going to cast it to float. And if you remember how to do that, we type in float, and in parentheses, we're going to have our input statement. And the last thing we need to add before we get to the request is that in our API, the from currency and the to currency, so when it's like USD, AUD, they're usually going to all be in capital letters because they're just 3-letter words. So to make our input appropriate, we can convert the input directly to uppercase using the .upper function. So by adding the .upper function to our input, it's going to automatically convert whatever the user puts in to uppercase letters. So we're going to .upper both of our currency variables, and now we're ready to request for the data that we want. So this is going to be a little different from the previous request that we used for the weather application, because this API does not require any API key, which kind of makes it more simple. So here we're going to create a variable called currency data, and we're going to set it equal to requests.get And in here, as usual, we're going to have a link which I will be putting in the description below, so you can copy and paste it. Here I'm going to copy and paste it as well. So here what we need to focus on is the variables that we are inputting. So for the amount, we are going to set it to the amount that the user inputs, and for the from, we're going to set it to the variable from currency. And finally, in the to spot, we're going to put in the to currency we also took from the user. So this is the request to get the currency data. So after this, as we did before, we're going to print out the JSON form to see what we have to do in order to access the values that we want. So we're going to print out currency data.json. So we're going to run our file. It asks us to enter our source currency. Let's just put in USD for United States dollar, and our destination currency to AUD for Australian dollar. And we're going to enter an amount, let's just say 100. And as you can see, as the previous project, we get a dictionary that contains all the values that we want. Here, the value that we wanted to access is the one found here, the 151.75. So in order to access that, we need to access the key, which is going to be rates. Then inside rates, we're going to access the input from the user, which is going to be the to currency. So let's write that out and see how it looks. So we're going to remove the print statement because we do not need it anymore. So we're going to create a new variable for the converted amount. Let's just call it converted. And we're going to set it equal to currency data.json. And in this JSON, as we said, the first step is to get into the rates. So we're going to access rates, and inside rates, we're going to access whatever to currency is. So whatever the destination currency is. So we're going to substitute here to currency. So that is going to give us the number that we want. So once we have that, we can print it in an acceptable format. So we're going to have a formatted string. So we're going to say amount, which is going to be the initial amount the user has, followed by the from currency, or the currency that the user wants to convert from, followed by, we're going to say is equivalent to, then we're going to have the converted amount, followed by the to currency. So that is all for the print statement, and let's save our file. We're going to run it again. We can run it from the console this time using Python 3, followed by currency.py. It asks us for the source currency. We're going to put in USD. Our destination currency, we're going to put AUD. And our amount, let's just put in 800. As you can see, it prints out 800 United States dollar is equivalent to 1,214 Australian dollars. So it works correctly. There is one last step that we did in the weathers app that we have to do here again, because we are requesting for data. That means we need to check if the request was successful. And in order to do that, we need an if statement that's going to check the status code. So we're going to have if currency data.status code is equals to 200. That means it has succeeded. So if it's equal to 200, we want to do the following. So we're going to tab them in, and we're going to have an else statement. That means it was not successful. So here we're going to print out an error occurred. So finally, let's check if it works. We're going to run it again. Our source currency, this time let's put it as euros, and our destination as USD. And we can put in an amount, 350. As you can see, it prints out 350 euros is equivalent to 384 US dollars. So our currency converter works perfectly. So this is a simple currency converter in Python, and thank you for watching this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more programming videos.